Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Merc with a Movie Blog channel. I am Josh the Merc Raynor here with a brand new episode of Hey Mando, a Mando verse review show. We are talking about the Book of Boba Fett. Now, for those of you who have been watching the show, you know that we didn't have one last week. Some stuff came up I wasn't able to record, but don't worry. I will be covering both last week's episode and this week's episode tonight. So strap in. It's going to be a good ride. We'll be talking as chapter 4 and 5 on this episode of Hey Mando. It's going to be good. I'm real excited to talk about it. These were some great episodes. I really enjoyed it. What I thought was funny is both of these episodes were kind of about a man in Mandalorian armor who's not actually a Mandalorian trying to get a ship on Tatooine. That's all it is. When you break it down, that's what both these episodes are about. I know that's simplifying it a lot, but I don't know, man. I really enjoyed both of these episodes. Now, I will say this: I have some thoughts about the second episode, which when we get there, I'll get more into it. But I'm gonna say my initial thought, and then you're gonna have to wait a bit until I dive into it. It's a great episode of television. It's a great Mandalorian episode. I don't think it's a good Book of Boba Fett episode. And we'll get into that when we get there. Let that simmer. Let that stew a little bit for you. It's gonna be a fun talk. It's gonna be a fun talk. All right, so we are gonna start with chapter 4, The Gathering Storm from last week. I really enjoyed this episode. This was the midpoint episode of the series. There are 3 episodes after that point. So we got chapter 5 this week, and then we got 2 more coming in the next couple of weeks. So the episode starts off Boba in the back to tank, and as expected, of course, we get a flashback back to Tuscan times, as I like to call it. Unfortunately, this is, I think, going to be the last one. I don't think we're going to get any more flashbacks, and I'll talk about that when we kind of get to that point as to why I think that. So Boba is riding his bantha through the Dune Sea. He comes up on former Jabba's palace, the now deceased Jabba's palace, now being ran by Bib Fortuna, and he's looking for revenge, maybe something else, maybe we don't know yet at this point. As we are watching the episode, we don't actually know why specifically he's scouting out the palace, but we'll find out soon. Later that night, he's eating along with his bantha, which is a cute little scene. It really kind of shows you how close he gets to these animals, these companions of his. And it, to me, it really shows the kind of relationship we're going to see between him and the Rancor that he's got now. And I cannot wait for the moment where he comes out of the palace riding the damn Rancor. It's gonna be splendid, man. It is gonna be one of the best things of all time. I guarantee that. I'm so excited to see that when it eventually happens. And if it does not happen, I'm gonna be real mad because they set that up, and then they've been showing us these, him riding this bantha. It's kind of setting up the fact that he wants to ride the Rancor. So we better see that. So he sees a couple of explosions in the distance, and he goes to investigate, and he comes across a woman lying on the sand, and it's Fennec Shand. Something happened. She is out, dying. He picks her up, puts her on his bantha, takes her to a mod parlor on the outskirts of the town. He brings her in, pays the modder to fix her up, and saves her life. There's a bunch of modded people out there, even a couple of those shiny hover Vespas that everybody seems to hate. I don't mind. It really doesn't bother me. I probably wouldn't choose them myself, but I think it fits with the vibe of those characters. You know what I mean? It may not fit with everybody else's kind of thought on what Star Wars is, but for these what I've been calling these cyberpunks, I think it fits for them. So, and speaking of cyberpunk, this entire scene inside the mod parlor, it's just pumped full of like 90s cyberpunk music, and I loved it. It reminded me of like the Matrix or like Hackers. Like that club music, that real fat. I loved it. It was so good. It just kind of took me back to the 90s. When I was in high school and a little bit of in middle school and whatnot. It was man, I thought it was perfect. And again, that's what I said. I'm calling them the cyberpunks from now on. I know that later on, Fennec specifically refers to them as the mods. She's like, because we don't see his gang of like this biker gang of modified people that he hired recently. We don't see them at all in this episode, not once. And Fennec makes a comment later on that the mods are out scouring. They're looking for the mayor. And so that's why they're not there. But yeah, so apparently they're being called the mods. I'm not calling them that. They're the cyberpunks. And that's, I like that name better. I'm sure other people are going to say that name sucks, but I don't care. So now we know that Fennec's been modded. We didn't know that before. That's something new. At least to me, I didn't. If it was known before, I missed it because when I saw it happening, I was like, oh shit! Like I don't know what else. I don't know if these mods are only life-saving mods, or if they do something at all. But I think it's really cool, and I do kind of like the fact that he left it open. He's like, you don't want to cover up all that beautiful machinery. I really dug that, because he takes pride in that. And she actually took it surprisingly well. She was like freaked out at first a little bit, but she got over that super fast. And Boba knows who she is. She's Master Assassin Fennec Shand of the Mid Rim. And, he knows exactly who she is. He introduces himself. She knows, you can see on her face, she knows who he is. And she is like, oh shit. If this dude is actually Boba Fett, like you could, like, she's this master assassin, and you can see a little bit of fear in her eye. And I really liked the way that she pulled that off. Her performance is fantastic. She's so great in this show. Ming Na Wen, I believe is her name. She's so good. She was great in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I think this character, even though we don't get a ton from her, I think I like this character better overall. I really do. I like what she's brought to it a bit more than what we got in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I actually really enjoyed her in that show. So, he's talking to her about stuff, and he gets her to help him recover his ship from Bib Fortuna's palace. So that's what we finally find out, why he was kind of staking out the palace, trying to figure out what's going on there. And we finally know he wants to get the slave one back. It's never called that in this, okay? And this was a big thing. He says to her, I need to get my fire spray gunship back. And after this happened, everybody on the internet blew up like, oh, they're changing the name. Oh, it's not the slave one anymore. It's the fire spray. And I'm like, that's not what he said. He didn't call it the fire spray. He called it his fire spray gunship. That would be like me saying, I need to go get my Kia Spectra. Instead of like, I don't have an actual, like, I've never named my car, but let's say I named it, I don't know. I named it Grogu. How about that? Instead of me being like, I need to go get Grogu, I'd say, I need to go get my Kia Spectra. That's exactly what he's doing here. He's just saying, I need to go get my fire spray gunship. I need to get my ship. That's it. They're just not using the name Slave One. They're not saying that it's changed. They're just actively not using it, which is fine. It doesn't matter. But everybody just flipped their lid, thinking, "Oh, they're changing it. They're changing it." No, they're actually not. It's still called that. They just use other descriptors now because they don't necessarily want to say it anymore, which I think is stupid. I get it, but like it's just the name of a ship now. Like, just come on. People just need to chill out about stuff like that. It's been this for what, 40 plus years? Is that how long that it's been? Yeah, like 40. I think it'll be 45. No, yeah, just say 40 years. It's been that for like 40 years. Like, come on, people, just relax. So they stake out the palace. A lot of guards, man. She sends this little ball droid floating thing. It's like a little drone type of thing, and she takes it like off of her gun, and it got me thinking. I was like, man, her gun is kind of like Batman's utility belt. It's got everything. It's got little drones. It's got like a knife. It has, and then later on, we see she pulls out this little. I think it's from the gun that she takes it. It's like this little welding thing that cuts through metal. And she just like strikes it, and it cuts through metal. And we saw her take out. Who was it? Well, who was she fighting? Oh, it was Chrysanthemum when he was hanging onto the Rancor pit. She like pulled the knife out of her gun and chucked it at his hand. Like, she's got everything just in this gun. And like I said, it's like Batman's utility belt. It's pretty impressive. I'd love to see what other little tricks and toys she's got roaming around in that thing. So then, as they are making their plans, getting ready to go get his ship back, Boba says goodbye to his bantha, releases it into the wild. Again, showing that care and that love that he has for this animal companion of his, and kind of showing us what we should expect when he starts being more involved, when we start seeing him being more involved with the Rancor. All right, then Boba and Fennec kind of talk about the plan, and his plan, he needs to get a ship, and then he wants to find his armor, and he wants to kill Bib Fortuna, take the throne. He wants to rise up. They're sick of just taking orders from idiots, and it's time that they take their place. So they decide that they're going to sneak into the palace because there's too many guards around. That would be too messy. So they, she pulls out that little striker thing, little like welding thing or whatever it is, and cuts through a few metal bars. They crawl through this, like, I don't know if it's like essentially like a sewer grate kind of a thing, and they make their way into what is like the kitchen area of the palace. There are a couple of chef droids, specifically a chef droid and a sous chef droid. I only know that because on my second watch through, I decided to put the closed captioning on, so that I could catch a couple of names when I was doing stuff. And it says that. It says, so though there's two. There's one with 6 arms and with knives. That's the chef droid, and then the other one is the sous chef droid, which I thought was really cool. That chef droid was awesome, though. It's like, it reminded me almost of like General Grievous, the multiple arms, and he starts swinging them around at one point with all the knives. I was like, oh damn, this dude means business. So Boba and Fennec come up through the grate and the floor. The sous chef goes to check it out. They think it's rats first off, and they call for a rat catcher. Okay. And the first time I watched the episode, like I heard that line, but I didn't think anything of it. And so then what happens after didn't click in my head until the second time around. And so Boba takes out the sous chef, and then the chef droid gets wild. Like I said, he's just swinging these knives around, going nuts, getting wild. Fennec just comes right up from behind it, strikes his neck with that thing, and it just kind of goes right through it, and his head just falls right off. It was real quick. I thought we were going to have like a cool little knife battle type crazy thing. Boom, she took care of it real quick. No alarms got set off. But then we see a little droid come through with a net. I didn't catch the net the first time through, so I was like, "Oh, this little droid wandered in." Okay, it's an LEP droid. Looks kind of like a bunny, which I thought it was adorable. This is like the new cute droid for the series. You know what I mean? I feel like every Star Wars thing has to have like a cute little droid to to make people happy, which is cool. I really actually like it. But this little droid is the rat catcher. That's what the net is for. And I hadn't thought about that. And so like it's on its two legs. It's kind of like pear shaped, got little bunny ears. But then it gets down and can like run like a rabbit, which I thought was cool. So obviously it's probably it's fast enough to catch rats as well. So I thought that was neat. So Boba catches it because like it starts to run off, and they don't want this thing like sounding the alarm. And so, like, they're chasing it around. It goes through, like, where the fire is and stuff. And he has to go around. Boba has to go around the other side. Finally catches it. And it's, like, freaking out. Like, oh. He, like, tells it who he is. Like, he's like, I'm Boba Fett. And it just, like, shuts itself off. I'm just like, does this little droid know who he is? Because that's kind of awesome, if that's the case. Or did it just, like, or if it was just like, no, I'm just going to shut myself off. I don't want any trouble, But, like, it made it seem like the droid knew who Boba Fett was. Now, and that would make sense to me because working in Jabba's palace, I feel like probably everybody knew, even the droids knew who Boba Fett was. You know what I mean? So that would make sense to me. I actually like that idea quite a bit. So then they reach the ship finally, and some Gamorrean guards come in, and a fight ensues. But it's a quick fight. It's pretty easy. It takes them, to take them down. But then the alarm sounds, and a whole bunch of other guards come flying in. I'll be honest, it was awesome to see the ship. It's just sitting in there. I was like, oh, as soon as they walked in, I was like, yes, we finally got to see the slave one, and it was awesome to see it. And so, like I said, a bunch of other guards come in. Fennec kind of holds them off as Boba goes and boots up the ship. He has a rough go, getting it out of the palace, smashing into things, just like dragging the wall. It was pretty funny. Fennec manages to kind of fend off any straggling guards, who are trying to stop her from. There's like a Gamorrean first, and then another guy who she like flips over and like chucks, and then she shoots the like anchor piece that's holding the palace gate up, and so she shoots that, and the gate just drops, and they're able to just get themselves the hell out of there. Fennec, such a badass, love her. So they take off. Fennec decides to stick with him for a bit. He said that he has got some scores to settle, and she's like, I'm gonna go for the ride. I think she's interested. I think she wants to see if the reputation of Boba Fett really stands up. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're seeing here. I think she's mostly just intrigued to see what he is going to do, what he can do, what he's willing to do, if all the stories are true. And I mean, right away, I think she finds out that he's legit as he finds the bikers, the Nikto bikers there that took out his tribe of Tuskens in the previous episode. He finds them, and it's not a long fight. It's not even really a fight. He mows them down with the slave one. He just turns on the guns and just goes. Just mows them all down. I think he like sends a missile off to one of them, takes him out like that. No problem. And she like gives him like a nod of respect, because he took care of his business. He did it cleanly, got it done, and now they're out, And I thought that was a cool little scene. Like I said, it was real short, but it was just awesome to see, because honestly, we haven't seen any. He hasn't even been in a ship, really. He's been walking around the entirety of the show. you know? And so it was nice to see him flying. We got to see the laser blasts. We got to, I thought it was awesome. I guess the closest thing to flying was when he stole those bikes from those bikers at the Tashi station. I think that's the closest that we got to him like flying, really. So then they come across the Sarlacc pit. The Sarlacc pit, man. You can see the remains of the skiffs around the sail barge things, and I thought that was really cool because like when he got out of it, you didn't really see much because it was real close up. It was close up on him, and then like into the sand on the Jawas that were taking his stuff. We didn't get like a big kind of landscapey view, but we were up high because he's in the ship, and so you kind of got to see everything kind of around the Sarlacc pit, and so that was just a cool scene for me. I really like a nice shot. It was kind of it was beautiful to see it. I loved that, and so he thinks because he doesn't remember. He was pretty out of it. He was messed up, probably dehydrated, getting ready to die and everything, obviously, when he escaped the Sarlacc. And he pretty much passed out. He was like in and out of consciousness the entire time that the Jawas were taking his gear. And so he didn't know that that's what happened to it, because otherwise he would have probably went and tracked down the Jawas and gotten his ship back. So he thought that it was still down in the Sarlacc pit. So he takes the ship, and he like the coolest thing about this ship is the way that it can fly at like any angle. And so like we know that it lands on its back, so like where the cockpit is facing up, and then it flies with the flat part to the back as the thruster flies that way. But he was able to lean it down so that the cockpit was facing the ground, right? And that was like first just that aspect alone I thought was awesome. To be able to see the maneuverability of the Slave One, I thought was fantastic. And so he does that, and he puts the glass cockpit part. He puts it right in the mouth of the Sarlacc pit, because I don't know if he thinks it's dead or what he thinks, but he just goes ahead and does it. They turn on the lights and stuff, and they're looking down in the pit, trying to see if he can see his armor down there. And then suddenly the Sarlacc wakes up, just shoots out tentacles. You got the mouthpiece kind of jabbing at him, and just holds on to him. They're struggling, trying to get away. Fennec, he even tries like shooting with his blasters from wherever they are. I think they were specifically the back ones. But it's just like into the sand, so it's not really doing anything because that thing is deep down in. If you've ever seen a what are they called? It's like the split view thing where like you'd cut the land in half, down so you could see everything down it. I know their name for it, and I'm blanking on it right now. But I've seen one of those, in like a Star Wars encyclopedia or something like that. And the Sarlacc is huge, man, down there. And so like shooting through the top of the sand ain't gonna do anything. It's just not. Honestly, I think like if he were to be able to shoot just the lasers just into his mouth, it probably would have let him go. I don't think it wouldn't kill it, at least unless you were able to just sit there and just continuously rapid fire into its mouth. But they don't need to do that because Fennec manages to get out of the seat that she's in and climb up and reach a control panel, hits a button, and drops a sonic charge right down into that bitch. The Sarlacc eats it, and then you just hear, and it just destroys the Sarlacc. The Sarlacc is dead. There's no way it survived. These tentacles came off and shit. This Sarlacc is now, they don't have to worry about it anymore. Fill that sucker in with sand. You ain't got to worry about it anymore. It is dead and gone. And then we got this hilarious scene from Boba. He turns because earlier, she had said something about, next time. I don't remember what she said. Next time, something. And he was like, next time, like, oh, there's going to be a next time. And so after she did all this, she hit the button and everything. They're kind of back to where they need to be. He just turns to her. He's like, "Next time, don't touch my buttons." And it was, I don't know why, it cracked me up hearing that line. Just the delivery of it, the seriousness on his face. It was, to me, it was fantastic. I loved it. It was, yeah, it was a great time. So he goes. They park the ship. They land it, and he still needs to. He's still looking for his armor, right? So now that Sarlacc is dead, he can go in, and he does just that. He goes down in. We don't actually see him go in. We see the after him coming out of the Sarlacc pit, and his armor's not in there anymore. But he got badly burned because it's just acid down there. That's how the Sarlacc. You're essentially in its stomach, and it's eating away everything. And so he's burning, pouring water on his face. The only reason he survived before was because of the Beskar armor that he had on. And this is where Fennec suggests that he needs to find a Bacta tank. And so now we know why he's been in it this whole time, because I was wondering, I was like, why is he so messed up that he needs to be in this Bacta tank all the time, every day? You know what I mean? Like, what happened that made him have to be? Like, I know that he was eaten by the Sarlacc and he dried. I thought maybe he's like, well, maybe spending so much time kind of dehydrating, dried out, and almost dying in the desert. Maybe that was the reason why. But nah, I'm sure that's some of it. But it's this acid stuff, man. That's exactly what it was, and it was cool to have that answer finally. I liked knowing that finally. So they sit and eat after a long day, and they're talking more about his plan to take over the throne. And he asks her to join him. He says, "I can give you something that your other clients never could," and loyalty is his answer. He wants to essentially make her his partner, not an employee. Cut her in on the success, and he will pledge to give his life for her. If need be. Just like he would expect from her. And I like that appealed to her, because normally she's a lone wolf. Just like he was for a long time. And she says to him, she says, I think that living with the Tuscans has made you soft. I was like, oh shit. And his response was beautiful to me. He says, no, it made me strong, because you can only get so far without a tribe. And that hit me. You know what I mean? Being alone sucks. And yeah, you can only get so far without, friends or family, without that tribe of people who you can rely on, even if you don't necessarily see them all the time. Those people who you can call up when something's wrong, and you can vent to them, you can chat, you can do whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like that is essential. And it's so, like, it was, to me, it was powerful, and it really hit home for me. So then we see then we see the stuff that we had seen before. We see him take out Bib. He kills Bib for Tuna, claims his seat on the throne. That's what we got to see, like at the end of Mandalorian, when they finally revealed, oh, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get a Boba Fett show. He's on the throne now. This is going to be cool. So we see that, and then he's back in the Bacta tank. He wakes up from this vision, from this dream, from this memory. But now he's fully healed. It is the droid who comes and says, "Congratulations, Master Fett. You are completely healed." And I'm like, huh. So if he's completely healed, he doesn't really need to be in the Bacta tank anymore, unless something he gets stabbed or shot or whatever. Then sure, stick him in the Bacta tank. But he doesn't need like a daily Bacta tank session anymore, which to me means no more flashbacks. And when I came to this realization, I was like, they've got 3 episodes left. Like, and they're not doing any flashbacks for those 3 episodes. And then you see what they do in the next episode. It's like, okay, so really it's just 2, and it's probably gonna like be like a big 2-part finale thing where where all the stuff is happening, and they're gonna really start ramping through the stuff in the present day. And then so it made more sense to me. It was it was a bummer because I actually loved a lot of the flashback stuff. It was really cool to see. I loved the stuff with him and the Tuscans, and I hope that we kind of get. I don't know, even if it's. I would love it to be this season, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get that. Just him interacting with Tuscans again. Obviously, it's not the same Tuscans, but what I would love to see is because I don't think we saw the body of the youngling Tuscan. I don't remember seeing the youngling's body. How cool would it be if the youngling got away and like they find each other at some point? You know what I mean? And maybe he trains or maybe he comes to work. So I don't know. I think it would be awesome. I know a lot of people don't want to see the Tuscans like without their head dressing and everything. It could be really cool though. Or shit, he could just have a Tuscan working for him. You know what I mean? This Tuscan could grow up and be part of his crew. I don't know. It'd be cool. All right, so the mayor still MIA. As I said before, the cyberpunks are out looking for him. Boba says he needs his armor, and then we head to the Sanctuary Cantina. I love this little place. It's so cool. It's the owner, Garza Fwip. I had to write her name down because I actually didn't know what her name was. Garza Fwip. She's cool. I like her character, I hope that we get more interactions. If we get like a season 2, I want to see more interaction with her. So we get to the cantina. Chrysanthemum is there. He's chilling. He's drinking, but he's getting angry. We see that on his face. The camera pans over, and we see this group of Trandoshans. They're living it up, man. They're gambling, doing everything, having a good time. For those of you who don't know, I didn't know a lot about this. I had heard it before in passing. I have friends who are really deep into Star Wars and whatnot, and so like I knew that the Wookiees and the Trandoshans had like a blood feud. I didn't know a whole lot about it or anything, but this thing goes back generations. And so when I first saw it, I hadn't thought about that. I got forgotten. I just wasn't thinking. I was in the moment, not really thinking about it. And so my first thought was, I wonder if these Trandoshans had anything to do with his capture, him being in the gladiator pits and everything, if that was any part of it. But then I remembered the whole blood feud thing. So I was like, that might just be all it is. And so they're just showing the audience this without any real explanation. And I don't really think it's necessary to explain. He's just mad guy, at this point. He's angry about the stuff that has happened in his life recently. Essentially being owned from person to person, being told what to do, finally now being free and not knowing what to do with that anger, and so like I feel like it could easily read that way. And so he saw this group of Trandoshans just living it up, having a great time, and it just pissed him off. And so he went off, but it also falls into the whole blood feud thing. And I think I don't know if he would have necessarily done that if he hadn't been kind of going through all that shit. I think he just didn't care anymore. And so he's like, you know what? Fuck these Trandoshans. I am going to take them out. I really think that's what it really came down to. And so, like I said, he attacks these Trandoshans. He just starts whooping the shit out of them. Then the owner, Garza Fwip, comes out, talks him down, almost like she does a fairly good job, She's like, you got nothing left to prove, you are amazing. She just starts piling on the compliments. And then she even she's like, you've racked up quite a quite a tab here. She's like, but listen, if you let him go, I will completely wipe your debt from the books. And he thinks about it first. He's like, that's, in his mind, I can just imagine him be like, that's a tempting offer. But he looks at the dude and he's like, then I could hear this, in his head. I could, hear him being like, fuck that. And he just rips the arm off the Trandoshan that he's holding and just chucks him on the ground, hands her a bag of money, and just walks out the door. This whole time, Boba is standing in the doorway, watching everything go down. He's just watching. He ain't gonna stop it. He's like, nah, that's cool. It's not my business, He wants to take out these guys. Hey, I'm not gonna interfere there. And then Garza Fwip makes a comment to the band. She says, okay, Max, keep on playing or something. So we find out here that is, in fact, Max Rebo's band. It's not just another one of those aliens. I don't know what is the species is, what Max Rebo's species is, the blue elephant guy. But we find that's Max Rebo's band. I thought that was cool, so it must have went from, I think he was at the Mos Eisley Cantina before, and now he's here in Mos Espa. I thought that was awesome. She must have offered him some good money, right? Because it seems like he's the in-house band now. So then Boba leaves, and he approaches Kersantin, and he does the thing that I was hoping he would do in the previous episode. He finally does it. Offers Kersantin a job to come work for him, and I'm like, fucking yes, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get Kersantin. He is a beast, literally, and in every way possible. And I'm so happy that he's gonna be working for Boba now. So then we flash over to the palace, to Boba's palace, and Boba's having a meeting with Jabba's former captains, which are the three heads of the tribes or the families or whatever of Mos Espa. They talked about it before, how after Jabba died, Mos Espa got kind of split up into three sections, and Bib didn't want to like fuck around with that, and so he just made like what they said uneasy alliances with everybody. So apparently these were Jabba's former captains, and so he talks to them about working together to take out the Pikes, because the Pikes are a danger to everybody. They don't care what these people want. They're going to take whatever they want, and that's just how it's going to be. One of them asks, like, what's stopping us from killing you and taking what we want? And at that moment, the Rancor just like grabs hold of the grate that's on the floor. You see its giant claws come up through it. You hear the roar. It's funny because Boba and Fennec specifically set up that table on top of that on purpose because of this. And so I was like, yes, they all know now that Boba's got a Rancor. You wanna fuck around with him? He'll drop you in. You're gone, man. Like it's over. And so like they kind of fall back in line a bit. During that scene, we also see a little LEP droid, like the little bunny guy, the rat catcher. I don't know if it's the exact same LEP droid. I don't know if he took it with him or if he just happened to have another LEP droid. Either way, we got one there. And like I had said, I was like, this is going to be like the cute little new droid. We're probably going to see it again if it's in Jabba's or in Boba's palace. So we're probably going to see it again. So I thought that was fun. And so they all kind of see how Boba, I keep saying Jabba, how Boba kind of commands the Rancor. And they're like, oh, shit, this dude means business. Like, maybe we shouldn't fuck around with him. And I love that he's starting to get some, he said he didn't want to rule by fear, but you got to rule with a little bit of fear. If these people don't, at least, especially the people like these captains, like the three heads of the tribes, if they don't fear you a little bit, then they're just going to get ballsy and start doing things. You know what I mean? And you don't want that. You want respect, absolutely, but a little fear never hurt when it comes to stuff like this. And so then they all agree to his proposal to stay neutral. They don't want to get super involved. They don't want to risk spilling their people's blood, all right? Because they have no beef with the Pikes at the moment. So Boba says, "Listen, just promise to stay neutral if they come asking you to betray me. Just stay neutral, and everything will be good." They say that they'll stay neutral. Will they? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And so then we get a final scene. It's Boba and Fennec, and they're talking. War is coming. And they need to prepare. So they need to put together a crew. And she thinks that they can find some muscle for hire. You just gotta look in the right places. And as this scene is happening, the Mandalorian theme starts to play at the end. And it's like, oh shit. Are we getting the fucking Mandalorian? Is he gonna come and help Boba out? And then we get the next episode. So that was episode 4. That was chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. And before we get into the next one, I just want to kind of give my final overall thoughts on this one. I thought this was a damn good episode. We had some fantastic stuff in the past. Learned a lot of stuff. We got to see the Save One. We got to learn why he's in the back to tanks and stuff. We got to see how he met Fennec. We got, I thought a really cool scene in the mod parlor. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was really neat. A lot of cool stuff. The stuff in the kitchen was fantastic. With the 2 chef droids. I really dug that. Him kind of showing off his power to the captain, to Jabba's former captains, getting to see the Rancor's claws, him finally getting Chrysanthemum on his side. Because during that scene with the captains, Chrysanthemum is back there. He's ready. He's one of his guys. And then the tease of the Mandalorian, I was like, damn. All right, they're taking out the stops. They're at the midway point. They're gearing up for war. We're gonna see some shit go down with the Pikes. And this is what I'm gonna say right here. I believe wholeheartedly that the Pikes are responsible directly for the death of the Tuskens. I don't think, because Fennec makes a comment. She's like, a bunch of bikers took out the Tuskens, and she's like, highly unlikely. And I think she's right. I think the Tuskens had help from the Pikes to take them out. And I think he's going to find that out at some point. Or maybe, because I don't think we're going to get flashbacks anymore. So I think what we know is what we know. Anything else that we have seen, I think is what has come from the Mandalorian. That's the past of Boba, between what we got at the end of the flashback here and the start of Book of Boba Fett. I think it's just the stuff in Mandalorian. And so I'm wondering if we're going to find out that the Pikes actually had something to do with the massacre of the Tuskens. And so that's going to send him over. Maybe we're going to see something wild happen there. So, yeah, that was chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Boom. Now we're getting into chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian. Everybody wanted it. People have been bashing on Book of Boba Fett so much. Like, oh, it's not as good as the Mandalorian. I get it. I agree. I do think The Mandalorian has been a better show than what we've gotten from Boba Fett, but I still really enjoyed what I've gotten from the Book of Boba Fett. I have zero problem with the characterization that they've given to Boba Fett. Everybody who's like, He shouldn't have his helmet off. He shouldn't talk so much. Hell, even was it to I'm gonna butcher his name, Tamara Morrison, the guy who plays Boba Fett, even made a comment about how he shouldn't talk as much, and he tried to like get certain lines cut out from the script. But it's like, I looked it up. Boba Fett had, I think, 6.5 minutes of screen time in the movies with 4 lines of dialogue. So people who are like, "Oh, this isn't Boba Fett. No, he would never do this." You don't even fucking know Boba Fett. You know nothing about him. Because everything in Legends that has happened, now, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of the Legends books, and I've read a lot of them, including books that involve Boba Fett. But they don't exist in this world. So this is not that Boba Fett. It has never been. The movie Boba Fett is not the Legends book Boba Fett. So wipe that shit all away, get out of your fucking head about it, and just enjoy the goddamn show. He can take his fucking, I guarantee you, on his off time, that helmet's off and he's a chatty bitch. Guarantee you that it was like that. Like, you guys just need to chill out. You saw him at work. He put on his work face. You know, he's got his helmet on. He's doing his thing. He's at work. That's the only time you saw him. You didn't see him in his off time. So you don't know anything about him. So chill. It's really getting on my nerves, the amount of people who are just bashing on it for those reasons. Now, I can understand if you just in general don't care for the show. That's fine. I don't care. But to try to make it up, because it was the same about the whole Luke Skywalker thing. You know, being like, "Oh, Luke would never act like that the way he did in the sequel trilogy." Like, bitch, this guy had 30 years to change. And people change, man. Fuck, I'm different than I was 10, 15 years ago. Just imagine what he had to go through for the last 30 fucking years, living with everything that happened during the original trilogy. Yeah, he's going to be a different person. Relax. Like, people put too much stock in what they think a character or a storyline should be, that they can't fathom anything that isn't what they have dreamed up in their head. And so then it is all disappointing, and it's garbage because it's not what you dreamed up in your head. Well, go write your own then. Go write a fanfic about it and post it on the internet and see how bashed you get by the same fans that you're joining together with to bash the other stuff. Yeah, you'll see. That's just exactly what will happen. All right. Now that I'm off of my soapbox, let's get into Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian. This episode directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. You know, she directed an episode in both seasons of The Mandalorian. A fantastic episode in the first season episode was good, but a fantastic episode in season 2. And this episode is also fantastic. She did such a good job, stellar job. But like I said at the beginning, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. This is an excellent episode of television. It's an excellent episode of The Mandalorian. However, to me, it's not a good episode of Boba Fett, of the Book of Boba Fett. It's not an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett's not even in. Now, I saw some people being like, "Oh, there are plenty of times where, like, if you look at the movies, there's whole chunks of time where the main characters aren't on screen." That's a movie. Movies and shows are structured completely different. Okay? You've got 7 episodes of a show called The Book of Boba Fett. He should have been in the episode. He should have been at the end of the episode. Should have been him and Fennec at the end of the episode. Not just like Boba should have been there. Minimum. Okay? But again, I love the episode. It's fucking amazing. But it to me, this is just personal. This is me. It wasn't a It wasn't a Book of Boba Fett episode. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Now, what it should have been. Hear me out, guys. This is what they should have done. They should have done a Mandalorian special. Dropped it at like, I don't even know when. Just dropped it a few months back, or like maybe like a couple of weeks before. Maybe just drop it leading up to Book of Boba Fett. Maybe like no more than a month, I'd say. Drop a special episode. And I would have made it longer. I would have done like, I don't know. This episode was like, I think it was like 50 plus minutes. I would have probably tacked on an extra like 20 minutes, right? And just made its own separate special. It was a Mandalorian special. He does all this stuff. He's doing it. It's great. We get the tease. You could have put Boba in there with Fennec. We get a tease of what's coming for the Book of Boba Fett. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, but you would spoil Mandalorian being in the show. But what you would actually be doing is getting people amped for it. You'd be like, wait, Mando's going to show up and help Boba do something, like fight somebody? We don't know what yet in the new upcoming show, Book of Boba Fett? Fucking yes. Let's get on that shit. People would have been stoked. Because as soon as this episode dropped, nobody's talking about the Book of Boba Fett. Everybody is talking about Mando Season 3. That's what all I kept seeing. Oh, Mando Season 3 is going to be awesome. Blibbity blobbity blah. Like, yeah, it probably will be. But that shouldn't be what happens here. You should be, the talk should be about what's coming in the last 2 episodes of Boba Fett. I feel like it derails the season a bit. And so, like, you have this special, goes through the whole episode, and then maybe we get tack on a little bit more and see him maybe go visit Grogu or whatever. Okay. And it wraps up and does whatever. And then we get into a 6-episode season of this. And then we go through, we get those first 4 episodes, and we still get the music cue. You still hear the Mandalorian. So you're like, oh, it's finally happening. Mandalorian is finally, we saw that special. We knew it was coming. Now we finally know that it's happening. And then episode 5, which will be, next week's episode, which, what I'm saying, maybe he'll be there. I don't know if he'll be there next episode or if he'll be there in the last episode. I don't know what episode he's actually going to be in. But if we had already gone through the special, then we wouldn't have to wonder. It could just happen. Boom. He could be in the next episode. And I feel like everybody would be far more pumped for the for the penultimate episode. Nobody's been talking about the penultimate episode of Boba Fett. They've all been talking about Mando Season 3. And I think that's a disservice to the show, unfortunately. But, okay. Anyways, let's get into the episode. So we start off, we're kind of in a slaughterhouse. A mysterious figure approaches. We're getting the shot. He's behind like those plastic slice curtain things that you get in like freezers. And he comes up and you see his silhouette, and instantly I was like, holy shit, that's Mando. Because you can tell it's Mandalorian armor, but it's not Boba Fett because you can see the spear. And I'm like, that's fucking Mando. And he comes through, and I was like, yes. I was so fucking excited. I was so goddamn pumped. Now, I did not expect this to be a full episode of The Mandalorian. I figured, okay, we're going to get like this opening. He's going to head to Tatooine, meet up with Boba Fett. They're going to talk some stuff. Maybe they'll do something together. And it'll kind of lead into the rest of the series, the rest of the last 2 episodes. That's not what happened. So this opening scene just showed me how much, and it obviously showed everybody else how much we all miss Mando. I love that show. It's fantastic. And again, I've been really loving Book of Boba Fett, but Mando's on a different level. It just is, and that's why I think placing this where they did, I think it does a disservice because everybody's like, this is the best episode of Boba Fett, doesn't even have Boba Fett in it. And so, like, if you had just made it its own separate special, then they wouldn't have that. It would just be the Boba Fett show without this, like, stopping point. It just kind of stops the show dead, unfortunately. And so he gets in there and he's looking for a bounty. He's there to collect a bounty. And Mando is kind of what people wanted Boba Fett to be, like character wise. He's this bounty hunter that doesn't, that's fucking badass and is just going around collecting bounties. I think that's what a lot of people wanted for the character of Boba Fett to be, but we got Mando first. And so, like, if we had done that with Boba Fett, it just would have been like, oh, they're just copying Mando. You know what I mean? Unfortunately for that. But again, I like the kind of ruler side of Boba Fett. I like seeing that. And so I'm actually really interested. And that's a character development for him. Otherwise, he would just still be that bounty hunter. It's just him doing the same thing he's been doing for years on years on years. But I like seeing this development of him. So anyways, Mando, he gets in there. He knows this guy's bullshitting him. And he's like, listen, I can take you in warm or I can take you in cold. And he's ready to fucking go. And this dude's like people just start attacking him. And he just beats the shit out of them. And then this motherfucker pulls out the dark saber, right? I mean, if you remember, he took out Moff Gideon and he got the dark saber. I was so like, I freaked out when he lit that thing up and just started going to town, taking people out. And then he like slams the dude that he's looking for onto this table, and then just cuts him and the table right in half. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, wow, that was impressive to me. I was thrilled to see that happen. I know that might seem a little dark, but it was so cool to see. And then he cuts off this dude's head, walks out. He, in the process of this fight, though, by the way, he's going and he winds up like hitting his leg with the darksaber because as he's fighting, it looks like it's kind of difficult to wield, and we find out why in a little bit. But it looks like he's having a difficult time wielding it, and he winds up like catching his leg and like burning a big section of the side of his thigh with the darksaber, and so like he's injured. He's kind of hobbling a bit, trying to finish this fight and then get out. So he steps out. All the factory workers are there, and he's like, listen, I was just here to collect this bounty. Your boss is dead. There's a whole bunch of credits in there. I have no claim to them. If you want them, you can take what you're owed from your former boss and let me through. And they do, man. They make a path, and then they all just start running into the other room to like collect whatever money they can find, and he takes off. And he's working in this, like, I don't know what else to call it, but I just called it like a ring city in space. I've seen these types of things in other movies. The first one that comes to mind is, I think it's Elysium, the one with Matt Damon, or it's very similar. But I've seen it in other movies as well, where it's just like a floating ring in space, and the city just travels all along it because it's got its own artificial gravity that keeps everything to the walls. It's really kind of cool. Honestly, I really dig the look of it. But this is where he's working. He's out in space, and this is the first time that we have been off planet on this show. And it's not even any of the main characters on the show. But that's again, is what it is. And so Mando brings the head of his bounty to the person who hired him, and there's this really cool, like, rotating camera one shot. It goes around, like it follows him in, and then it's kind of like going slowly around the table, keeping center on him as he's talking and everything, and trying to get the information that he was promised from this person. And he finally does. He threatens to take the head, and because he had a bounty on it to sell it to somebody else or whatever, to collect the bounty elsewhere. And but they give up the information that he's looking for, and this information leads him to Paz Vizsla and the Armorer, the last two of the, I think it's the Children of the Watch, I believe, is their like tribe's name, if I'm not mistaken. Them and Din Djarin, Mando as I call him, are the only three left after the big slaughter on Navarro. That's all that's left. And so he meets up with them in secret, gets fixed up, Paz sprays this stuff on. I was surprised that Mando doesn't have like a back to spray kind of a thing on him. Like he's got all this other stuff, but he doesn't have back to spray on him where he could just spray his wound and start working on the healing process. I was actually very shocked by that. And so he gets fixed up, like I said, and then he pulls out the Darksaber because the Armorer says, what kind of weapon did that to you? And he pulls out the Darksaber, and Paz recognizes it instantly. You can tell. Like he knows what it is. And we learn later on why, why and how he knows exactly what it is. And he also, Paz brings it over to the Armorer, and the Armorer is looking at it, and she's asking him, if you do know what this is and everything. And we get a bit of some history about Mandalore and the significance of the Darksaber and everything, which was really cool. The Darksaber played a much bigger role in Clone Wars. I remember it in some of the Clone Wars stuff. I haven't watched season 7, so I don't know if there's more of it in that. I have not watched Rebels or the Bad Batch yet, and so I don't know if it's anywhere in any of those. But we learned, like I said, some more stuff about Mandalore, and we even hear a bit about the mythosaur, which is the Mandalorian symbol is the skull of a mythosaur. So I really hope that maybe in season 3 we see a mythosaur. Oh, how cool would that be? That would be pretty awesome. And so the Armorer asks him about the Beskar spear that he's got. He's like, where? She's like, where did you get that spear? And he tells her that he got it from Bo-Katan. And she's like, that spear is just the mere existence of that spear is a danger to the Mandalorians. I mean, because it can pierce Beskar. Beskar was not meant to be turned into weapons. It was meant for armor. That's what it was meant for. And so she tells him all this. She doesn't ever ask for the spear, but you could tell she's kind of like, she's saying it without saying it, she's letting him know that like, yeah, maybe you should hand it over so we can take care of this. And he does. He offers it up to her to turn it into armor. And she, he specifically says foundling armor. And she's like, okay, who are we making this for? And he said, it's going to be for Grogu. And so we see her kind of doing some forging, heating it up, pounding it and everything. And then we see like a bunch of chain links. Now, I don't know if these chain links are the best. Like, did she turn the Beskar into a bunch of chain links? Is she making... Did she make Grogu chainmail armor out of Beskar? I don't know. Maybe. It could be neat, but the thing is, no matter what she made, she wrapped it up in this little rag that like fits in the palm of Mando's hand. And so like to me, Like, there's no way that's armor. There's no way. Like, how could that have been armor? So, unless she made him armor and something else, and so, like, we didn't see the armor, like, we didn't see that, but, like, maybe there was an extra gift, and that's what we saw. I don't know, like, the only thing I could think of it being that because it was super small. Like, we see it later on, um, he's looking at it, he pulls it out, and like I said, it's real small, and the way it's tied, it, like, looks like Grogu's head, which I thought was really funny. But, like, it's, like, the size of that little ball thing that he kept stealing, that Grogu kept stealing off of Mando's, like, shifter. It's, like, the size of that. And so it made me wonder, like, did he make a Beskar, like, little ball for him? But that's not armor, and that's what he asked for. So I don't know. We never actually get to see what he had made. And we never get to see Grogu either, so we don't actually know what's going on there. And so the armor is not a fan of Bo-Katan. She blames her for the fall of Mandalore because she was undeserving of the Darksaber. You know, the whole thing about the Darksaber is that you need to win it in combat in order to be worthy. And if you wield, like, if you take possession of the Darksaber without winning it in combat, because Bo-Katan was given it, then you become, essentially, it's like, it like curses the tribe. And so that's what she blames the fall of Mandalore on her. And we get like this flashback of the fall, and like we see these K2 droids just walking through the desolated areas and stuff, and it was really cool to see it. But I want more. So I'm hoping that we get more detail, we go a little bit more in depth when it comes to that in Mando season 3. And that's the thing. There were a lot of left open questions in this. And so it just got everybody talking about Mando season 3. Mando season 3. Nobody is focusing on Book of Boba Fett episode 6. Nobody. And at least nobody that I've seen. I'm sure there are some people. I mean, I'm more wondering about it, but I don't know. It's just, I think it was a bad move to stick this episode here. Again, I think it would have been a great special, just one shot special thing leading into Boba Fett. Would have pumped people up, would have satiated that need for some Mando, led you into, gotten people more excited for Boba Fett. But again, you can't turn back time. If I could turn back time. No, you can't. Sorry, guys. Not gonna happen. And I'm not gonna sing anymore. So the fall of Mandalore is also what kind of forged the kind of beliefs and the creed of the Children of the Watch. It's the thing that really made them die hard believers in this stuff, because they believed that the fact that they held steadfast to their Mandalorian ways, never taking off their armor and all that, their helmet and all that stuff, and all these like rules under their creed and everything. They believe that doing all of that and staying with those beliefs is what saved them and what continues to save them, even though so many of them have now died, and then the armorer begins teaching Mando how to wield the Darksaber. It's difficult, though. It's not like a lightsaber. This thing runs on your energy. Like it you control it with your energy. She talks about, if you fight against the Darksaber, it becomes harder to wield, and becomes heavier to wield. Like physically heavier. You see it. The energy becomes heavier and it drags it down. You have to kind of like become one with it and essentially treat it as an extension of yourself. and then you'll be able to wield it. And so I'm excited for the moment when that finally does happen, because like Mando's ability with other weapons, like we see it later on, like so Paz gets all like fucking hot under the collar. He's like, the dark saber was forged by my ancestors and it's my birthright. It belongs to me. And first off, I'm like, it can't be your birthright. That's the whole point. You can't just be given it. So no, it's not your birthright. You can fight for it, but it is not your birthright because you cannot just be given it. Otherwise, the whole point of that, the whole point is it will bring ruin to Mandalore, which it has. You know what I mean? And so she mentions that, and he says that he's going to challenge Mando for it, challenge him to a duel, and Mando agrees, and Paz almost wins this thing. He is going ham on him. He's a big dude. He's huge. And even him, he at one point gets hold of the dark saber, and he's struggling to lift this thing. You know what I mean? Like struggling hardcore to lift this thing. But Mando, he's just too good, especially when he's using his own weapons. He pulls out like this little dagger, and he's just like, kind of flipping around and doing like ninja moves, man. I don't know, but he's getting around there, stabbing him, slicing him, and he finally gets it behind him, right behind the, right up to the throat, and that's the end of it. He doesn't kill him, Armor stops that. I don't know if he would have, to be totally honest. He might have, but I don't know. And so Mando takes the dark saber, but the armorer has a question for them. And I'm going to say this. I thought it was random. Okay. It kind of just came out of nowhere. She asks, cause like he's got Paz with the knife up to his throat. And she asks Paz, have you ever removed your helmet? He's like, no. And then she asks Mando. And if you watched Mando season 2, you know that he's removed his helmet. Actually, I think it might have happened at the end of season 1, actually, now that I think about it. I'd have to go back and rewatch. But nonetheless, he's taken it off multiple times. He took it off when they were in that Imperial place with that other dude whose name it's Bill Burr's character. I just can't remember his character's name. He winds up having to take it off there. He's taken it off a few times. And so, he's hesitant to answer, but he does. He says, yes. And she essentially banishes him from, she's like, you're no longer a Mandalorian. It's like the whole name of his show is The Mandalorian. And now he's not a Mandalorian anymore, technically. I know they're not going to change the show, but, and she says that there's like one way that you can redeem yourself, and I don't even remember. It was like some crazy thing that he had to do to essentially, it's kind of like essentially like washing himself clean of his sins, that kind of a thing, right? It's like going to confession, but it's way more. And so she makes him leave. He's out. The interesting thing, she doesn't demand like his armor back or anything. She's none of it. She lets him leave with the dark saber, with his armor and everything, and just goes. He's just not part of the tribe anymore. And so now he's more like Bo-Katan and her crew and them and all of these other ones. Now there's only 2 members of the Children of the Watch left. And then he makes his way back. Actually, before I even get into that, this was something I had in my mind about that whole previous scene. Because I said it kind of came out of nowhere that she asked that question. And it got me wondering, did she know? Like, did she already know that he had taken his helmet off at least once? of the few times that he had. And that's why she brought it up. Like, was she essentially giving him one last chance to be with his people and maybe she knew about the spear too, you know what I mean? Because like if she knew that he took his helmet off, she probably knew about the spear, and like maybe she was waiting till she could get it from him because like she said, it's a danger to the Mandalorians, it being, and now it's gone. And so like if he had it and she banished him and he became their enemy, he could kill them. Like he could theoretically hunt them down and kill them with that very spear. But so it makes you wonder, did she already know about all of that and just wanted to get him there so that she could get the spear? And then, he happened to also have the Darksaber. It's like, oh shit. Okay. Let's see if maybe, hey, pause. Maybe she gave him a little look, a little nod, get that shit back. And then we'll kick his ass to the curb, but he's not able to defeat him. And so she's just like, okay, you're out, take your shit and go. And that's how it is. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Head over to at Movie Blog Merc on Twitter. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether or not you think that she might have already known about some of the stuff going on. Because I don't know. It seems like it's a possibility. All right. So he then makes his way to Tatooine. And there's this cute little interaction with a little Rhodian kid. It does kind of come back later when he's kind of flying around through space. He sees this kid again, but it's really just like he's sitting in his seat, the kid, it's just like on an airplane. The kid gets up, turns around, he's like looking at him. It was funny. I enjoyed that. It shows that he's got some humanity, and that's one of the things I love about him as a character. And so this is where he pulls out the little gift for Grogu. It's just wrapped up. It looks like his head. I thought that was really cool. It's like, exactly what he is thinking about in that moment. Exactly who it's for and everything. It was just a nice little, like, he's still with him, even though he's not there, he's always kind of with him. Then we're finally back on Tatooine. Mando heads over to Peli Motto's place, the mechanic there on Tatooine. We saw her quite a few times in Mandalorian, and so we get the scene shows up at her shop. That's where the scene starts. She's trying to kill what I assume is a swamp rat. I don't think they ever actually say it in the episode, but I'm just like, first thing that popped in my head, bullseye swamp rats with his T-16, and so I'm like, oh, I bet you it's a swamp rat. That'd be pretty awesome. And it's like loose in her shop, running around. It's like chasing one of her little droids, like a little, I think she called it a BD or DB. I don't know, one of those. But it's a little cute little droid. It's like almost looked like a little mini version of an ATST. That's what it almost looked like. And it was really cute. So this thing is chasing around. And she's trying to get it. And at one point, it like grabs her and like starts dragging her away. And that's when Din comes in and shoots the thing, saving her and everything, which was cool. And then, we get some fun interactions between them. She says that she has a replacement for the Razor Crest, which was destroyed. But it's not another Razor Crest. That's what he was expecting. He was like, okay, you're going to get me a new Razor Crest. No. What she gets blew my mind. I was so excited. I knew exactly what it was before she ever said it. As soon as she pulled the sheet off this thing, I was like, oh my God, that's the Naboo Starfighter. That's right. N1 Naboo Starfighter. If you remember from the Phantom Menace, little Anakin gets up into this like yellow ship and to hide. And he's like pressing buttons and stuff. And turns it on, he like flies off in it. It's one of those ships, an N1 Naboo Starfighter, and I freaked out when she pulled the sheet off and I saw it because like I said, I knew exactly what it was. I was like, holy shit! Like they're pulling stuff in like that. Like they're really leaning into some like prequel references, and I kind of dug that because a lot of times they just ignore the stuff that happens in the prequels. So. Mando's not happy though with this. He wants his big gunship. He wants the Razor Crest. But she convinces him. He comes around, and even like she gets him to help her finish putting it together because it's not all put together yet. At one point we learned that Peli once dated a Jawa, which just seems real weird. She's like, real furry. So like, ooh, that's awkward, but okay, interesting. She can speak Jawa, which is cool. So they really mod the ship out. It looks bitchin' in the end, man. They stripped most of the yellow paint off. It left a few cool little like yellow markings on it, but most of it they stripped it like right down to the chrome, and it looks like a ship that Mando would. Mando all chrome, and now his ship pretty much all chrome. It really fit, and it looks sleek, man. This thing, as he says later on, wizard. Apparently that's a thing. Never heard that term, but I'm like, I like it. Totally wizard, It looks fantastic. So Mando asks the Jawas for some specific parts. He puts together a list or whatever. I don't remember what this thing was called when they bring it in, but they bring in this part that he wanted, and apparently they stole it from the Pikes, from one of their spice running ships. And Peli says that the Pikes have been, have kind of caused this whole area to go to hell ever since they started running spice through the area. And so I felt like this was their way of kind of tying in what's happening in the Book of Boba Fett into this episode. And I wondered, will this come back around? The fact that his new ship has stolen Pike equipment on it. It makes me wonder if that'll come back. And hey, either way, I think that's that's fine. But it introduces him to the Pikes, which is good because he's gonna be dealing with them soon enough. Peli had removed the droid port, so if you remember, most ships, like that are like that, these like small personal one person ships have a spot for like an R2 or like an R4 droid to sit in. And she removed she like kind of like hollowed it out or whatever and put a dome on it, right? And I'm like, you didn't have to put a dome on, like a clear dome on it. You could have put a chrome dome on it, or something flat over it, But she put a clear dome over it, and it makes me wonder: is like, are we gonna get a scene? Are we gonna get some shots in Mando season 3 of little Grogu in that little space? So like Mando's in his cockpit, and you get little Grogu in the droid port. I think that would be adorable. I think it would be just fun to see them get back together for that. So he starts it up. It's a little rough at first, but he gets it going, and he has, he starts flying it. He has to open it up because it's a starfighter. He's used to flying a gunship. He's got to open this sucker up. He's got to fly it like a starfighter. So he does, and he takes it on a test run through Beggar's Canyon. And this whole scene, the scream pod race scene from Phantom Menace, man, I loved it. He's zipping through the canyons and everything, and just spinning around, and oh man, I absolutely loved it. Like, I know that the Phantom Menace, not a very good movie, but there is some fantastic stuff in that movie. The pod race stuff. Darth Maul is great. There's a lot of good stuff in that movie. Again, I love the pod race stuff from there. And so seeing this just brought me back to that. I was like, it gave me the warm feelings about the prequels that, I like to get sometimes. So that was real nice. And so then he's like, let's really see what this thing can do. And he takes it up into space, and he's like flying. He's going real fast. He flies over this commercial ship. He kind of goes by, at one point he goes by the windows of it, and you see the little Rhodian kid. I don't know if it's the exact same kid, but you kind of have to assume, after what they showed before, it's that same little kid and they kind of lock eyes. I thought that was really cool that we got that again. And then he takes off, but then he gets stopped by some New Republic officers in their X-wings. Yeah, and they say that he was flying too fast near a commercial ship. That he shouldn't be doing that. And then they start asking him questions, like for his registration, his title tabs, and everything like that. He doesn't have any of that stuff at the moment. They just built the thing. Plus, he's trying to keep it off the radar anyways. He doesn't want to be ID'd in this thing. But he does get recognized. One of the pilots recognizes his voice. I believe he was in. I don't remember if because there was an episode of Mando where I think it was like the spider, like the ice spider one, maybe. I don't know. There was an episode where he comes across a couple of New Republic guys. And I don't remember if this guy was one of them or not. I'd have to go back and rewatch the episodes to make sure. But he knows, and I recognize him. Like I've seen him in other stuff, and I'm very well might have seen him in Mando. Again, he recognizes his voice. He's like, "Did you used to fly a Razor Crest? There was some stuff that happened on Navarro." He's like, "I'd like to ask you a few questions." And he flips open his button. That's like essentially the spacecraft version of like a NOS button, and he hits that thing and he just zips right on out of there to sublight thrusters. And it's like, essentially it looks like he jumped into hyperspace, but he didn't have to like spin up any drives because that's not what it was. It was his sublight thrusters and just boom, gone. And there's no way they're getting him to him after that, which I thought was fucking awesome. Like the fact that now he can do that, yeah, this is gonna be cool shit, man. So he heads back down to Tatooine and heads back over to Pelly's, and she says an old friend stopped by, and it's Fennec Shan. She's still there. She offers him some work. He's like for Boba, and she's like, yeah. It's not a bounty. They need some muscle. And she's like, it pays well, hands him a little bag of money. And he's like, tell Boba this one's on the house. I was like, that's awesome. But he said he has to make a visit to a little friend first. And so obviously that's going to be Grogu. Now, here's my thing, right? So that's the end of the episode. We don't get to see Grogu. So I'm wondering, is he not going to be in the next episode because he's off doing stuff with Grogu, and then he's going to come back in the last episode to help fight? Or are we going to get more Mando like stuff like that in the next episode, which I think is a waste of the episode, the Boba episode? And that is the main reason why I think this should have been a special, because you could have gotten everything you got in this episode, plus you could have seen him go and meet and see Grogu again. We could have gotten 20 to 30 minutes more where it's that kind of stuff, and then we would have seen like what he made and all this other stuff, and then he could have headed back. But we didn't, and so like I'm curious as to how it's going to work out. Are we ever going to see him go there? Is it going to be in Mando season 3, which ain't till like December? And that's if it doesn't get pushed back. So are we not going to see anything about where, okay, he went and visited Grogu and then he comes back and fights? So we're not going to see that chunk in the middle of him going and visiting Grogu till some other time? Or are we going to spend more time not having a Boba Fett show? And so I worry about that. But nonetheless, fantastic episode. Bryce Dallas Howard, mwah, chef's kiss right there. It was beautiful. The tracking shot at the beginning when he was delivering his bounty was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. Just the look of the ship, the stuff out in space. I don't know. Everything was great. It was a wonderful Mandalorian episode. It really, really was. And it's gotten a lot of people thinking, Bryce Dallas Howard needs to do more. Like they already announced she's going to be directing an episode in season 3. I wouldn't be shocked if she directs an episode of Ahsoka, because that is also part of the Mandoverse, which we will be covering on Hey Mando here, since it is one of the spinoffs from that. We will not be covering things like the Bad Batch or Andor or Obi-Wan on this, because this is specifically, I don't like, it's not just a Star Wars show. It's specifically a Mandoverse. That's how it's been branded. So if you want those, I mean, if you're interested in having me do reviews for those, let me know. I might be willing to do a separate show covering some of the other Star Wars content out there as well. Just let me know. But for now, it's just going to be Mando, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, any other spin-offs that they do within that realm. And so it's gotten more people thinking, they're like, oh, she should direct a movie now. And some people are like, I feel like that's a waste. Don't give her just, 2 hours to do a movie. Give her a whole season of a show. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to her doing a season of a show, but I think I would love to see her do movies as well. So, like, I'll be honest. I kind of want to see her do a Solo 2 to take over for her dad, because her father's Ron Howard. I'd love to see her do that, and then either do a full series or get a trilogy, a film trilogy, because that would be like about the same amount of time frame. You know what I mean? You're getting, like, depending on the length of the movies, you're getting like 6 to 8 hours worth of content in 3 movies. And so you're looking at 6 to 8 episodes, you know what I mean? And so I think a 3 movie arc would be awesome for her as well. I want to see her do Solo, just because I think it would be, she's the stuff that she's directed for Star Wars has been, I think, really, really good. And I think it would be cool to kind of see her take over that franchise, that part of the franchise from her father. And I want fucking Solo 2, man. Hashtag make Solo 2 happen. Let's do it. I want to see more. I know a lot of people were like, nah, I dug it, man. I really dug it. I'd love to see more of that. Maybe get, I want to see some, was it Crimson Dawn stuff? Yeah, let's do that. I would be down for it. So, but yeah, I think that's everything that I am here to chat about as far as these 2 episodes of Boba Fett go. I hope that you guys enjoyed my thoughts and everything. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to head on over to Movie Blog Merc. You can see it right down there at Movie Blog Merc on Twitter. I'm pretty active over there, so just shoot me a line. I will definitely respond. So yeah, be sure, if you like what you are seeing and hearing, especially if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and click that little bell so you always get notified when I drop a new video. If you're listening on either Apple or Spotify, make sure to rate and review. A 5-star rating goes a long way. I really, really, really appreciate it. Rate and review there. If you are listening on Anchor, okay, I have anchor.fm/movie blog Merc. You can actually leave a voice message. I would love that. And if it's something cool, if it's a cool question, cool comment, I might even just play it on air. That could be fun. So yeah, definitely do that. Got Facebook at Merc with a Movie Blog, mercwithamovieblog.com. That's my website. Instagram and Twitter at Movie Blog Merc. And then obviously check out the YouTube channel right here. Thanks, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that you join me next week for Chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. Catch you guys next time.